Bicycling in America has become extremely popular. Many cyclists prefer trails over busy highways and curvy roads simply for their safety. I like the peacefulness of a trail. I can enjoy real conversation with a friend or simply the quiet sounds of nature. In the last 20 years, groups all across America have been building these trails. You probably know one not far from your home. In this series, we will explore these trails and visit the interesting places we find along the way. My name is Mary Jo Monty, and I will be your trail guide. I bought my first 10-speed when I was 18 years old, and I've been cycling ever since. I love the trails because they take me to so many interesting places. So, with thousands of miles of trails to explore, we have a lot of pedaling to do. Follow an Anabaptist movement of Christianity which formed in the 17th century in Switzerland. They keep things simple, preserving a way of life that resembles rural Europe in the 1600s. Simple dress, simple furnishings, and a simple daily schedule. They're hard workers who take pride in everything they do. They make excellent carpenters and craftsmen of all types. They work with their hands, shunning for the most part electricity, motorized vehicles, and telephones. The Amish are an agricultural people who work the land with teams of horses. And how do they get from place to place? They use horse-drawn buggies and, of course, bicycles. We're going to start our ride here at the trailhead in Killbuck. The village of Killbuck is named after the Delaware Indian chief who was leader at a very dangerous time in our history, the Revolutionary War. John Killbuck tried to stay neutral during that war, but Indian tribes of the area found that it was necessary to choose either the British or the colonists. John Killbuck eventually sided with the Americans and ended up fighting against some of his very own people. The village was named after him in 1874. When you're riding the trails, no matter where you're at, you're riding the trails, you need to be considerate of other people using the trails. We call them multi-use trails because they're being used by people in rollerblades and skateboards and people walking and sometimes horseback riding, and of course on this Holmes County Trail, horse and buggy. So we want to be considerate of the other people using the trail. And when we're riding along, we come upon somebody and we're faster than they are and we're going to pass them. We want to call out. You may want to signal with a bell on your bike or just call out that you're going to pass them and then tell them which direction you're going to pass them on, normally on the left. Now, some people will move to the left, so you'll have to pass them on the right. But it's good to call that out. Now, here we have on the trail, we have horse and buggy use. The rules say you want to stay about 6 feet away from the horses. And we want to just give them enough room. And we're going to pass those cyclists on the left. A busy trail, this Holmes County Trail. Gets a lot of use. It's wonderful to see a trail being used so much by people for recreation and for commuting. I understand this is a good commuter route, people going to work. Okay, so when we're on a trail, think about safety. I'm going to come to a complete stop when I come up to this crossing and make sure the way is clear before I continue on. I'm going to look both directions here. Oh, no one coming. There we go. The Holmes County Trail takes us right through the Killbuck Marsh wildlife area. It's the largest marshland in Ohio outside of the Lake Erie region. With more than 5,600 acres, it's one of the best bird watching areas in the state. Well, here we are at Hip Station. It's a beautifully restored railroad station built right along the railroad tracks, of course, which is what we've been riding on. We're about halfway on the Holmes County Trail, and we're stopping in Millersburg, the county seat of Holmes County. We're going to go uptown and see a little bit of the town because it's just a stone's throw away from the trail. And of course, this railroad station that they've restored just for the trail houses some restrooms and the office for the trail. Let's go check out Millersburg.
This economic and governmental center of Holmes County was founded when many of the region's settlers were cheese makers from Switzerland. The region is still known for its many cheese products. Millersburg is also known for its Victorian architecture, its many antique stores, a pre-Civil War hotel, and a beautiful Victorian house museum. The courthouse and jail, in the center of the historic district, were completed in 1885 and are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. A variety of retail stores and restaurants are nearby, and a visit into Millersburg is a must for the thirsty cyclist.
The Millersburg Brewing Company. I have heard so much about this place. They've only been in existence since 2012, and yet the whole region knows about their beers. They're distributing into 3 states, and everybody talks about it. So, I've got to find out why. Well, I made it inside Millersburg Brewing Company, and I'm here with manager Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great now. I've got my beer.
That's a good thing to do on a Friday afternoon.
Yep. The beers you make here are so popular. Tell us about it.
Well, we do about 15 to 25 beers annually. It depends on the types and the brews that we do. We do anything from a nice Lot 21 Blonde, which is our #1 seller, to a double IPA, which is quite hoppy and quite strong in malt flavor as well. Our locals prefer the Lot 21 Blonde, as all of our beers are named after local features in the area. It's a beautiful variety, and they do very well for us in Millersburg and outside of Millersburg.
Now tell me a little bit about the brewing. I know you have so many flavors, different types of beers. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the brewing process is a very complicated process. It's very much down to a science. Marty Linden does an excellent job with the beers that we have here. Some of them taking first place for IPAs or the Oktoberfest. Even using fresh local hops from Marysville. We have one brew in particular that has about 50 pounds of fresh hops, fresh Cascade hops, which really imparts strong flavors, but really memorable flavors in the pale ale, for instance, or in other brews. Everything has a unique flavor. And there's such a variety that you can never go wrong.
Well, yeah, the variety. Give me a couple of those names. You've got like a peanut butter beer, and you've got give me a couple of those names.
Gosh, we have so many. We have, my favorite one is a Possum Run, and we promise that no animals were ever hurt in the making of that beer. But it's named after another local feature, a local road. But you have Panther Hollow Vanilla Porter, you have Killbuck Creek Kolsch, you have Andrew's Ice, you have the Paddens Peanut Butter Porter, and we also have the Lady Justice, which is named after the courthouse right across the street. We also feature the Valiant Veterans, which is named after all the veterans that have served our country. When we found this building and when we moved it in, it was a 1920s IGA. And it was the Roadie's Food Liner. And there's photos up front that you can check out that actually have what it looked like outside, and you can see the people lining up to get their bread for 20 cents back in the 20s. That was to be expected, whereas you can't even get a beer, unfortunately, for 20 cents. But no, we really believe strongly in buy local, support local, and if we can get our decorations from the antique stores down the road, or if we can find our supplies from within Ohio, we will use them, and we like to repurpose those for what we have here in the bar.
Well, the place is fascinating. It's obviously a popular place. And one thing that I noticed is that I see people coming in with empty glass jugs.
Yes. growlers.
Yeah.
We have growlers and we offer growlettes. The growlettes are a small plastic 22-ounce bottle, and the growlers are a half-gallon glass jug. It's a fairly common means of getting a fair amount of craft beer in one vessel, and it's a great way if you're taking some home and you'd like to kind of mix and match or play, and if you like something really dark and your wife likes something really light, you can then get something that suits for both.
Can't miss Rosie.
Can't miss Rosie, Wild Rosie. She's named after, she was kind of created after an old Western movie that the owner had seen one night. They had gotten a horse to look drunk with the owner and to lean against the wall with her hoofs crossed such, and so the owner thought, well, that's just about Millersburg to a T. Now we decorate her up for cans. So each can we try and get a logo made for each beer. And this can in particular has her in the front. She's got a nice, beautiful blonde mane with a rose in. And on the back, as most people will find out after they drink too many of these, will feel like a horse's rear end by the time they're done.
Millersburg Brewing Company.
Cheers to that.
Along the Holmes County Trail.
Beautiful.
Hi there. How you doing? Good. Great to see you.
Well, here we are at Killbuck Marsh again. Actually, we've never quite left Killbuck Marsh. We've been riding along it all the way because it is so large. It's 5,600 acres. And it's an ongoing project with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and they've combined their efforts with Ducks Unlimited. They started this back in 1969, purchasing property, and it's an ongoing effort of protection and restoration. So they're still planting trees and purchasing property and working on building this wonderful wetland and preserving this wetland for all the wildlife and birds and all the plant life. There's just so much here. And there's so much more to see of the Killbuck Marsh than what we see just riding along on our bikes. There are hiking trails, other birding spots, there's a bog, there's a kettle lake, all sorts of things, because it's a huge area, so it's quite a wonderful place to see. In Holmesville. This is the one small section of the trail where we just have to take to a few quiet streets through Holmesville, then we'll get back on the trail on the other side of town.
The Holmes County Trail ends in Fredericksburg, a very tiny and scenic town 8 miles north of Millersburg. This is where we end today's adventure.
Well, here we are at Lem's Pizza in Fredericksburg, and I'm really hungry after riding 15 miles on the trail.
How are you? I'm Mark Lem, the owner.
I'm Mary Jo. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I've heard all about Lem's Pizza, and I know regionally it's a really popular place, so I've been dying to get up here to sample your menu. So tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Thanks, glad you did. We opened in 1996, so next year actually will be 20 years that we've been open, which is kind of hard to believe. It was kind of an unusual thing. I didn't really got out of college. We had a friend of the family that had a little pizza shop, and he suggested, hey, he thinks one would go in Fredericksburg. I grew up in this area. So actually started, my parents owned a grocery store across the street, and so I actually started in the back corner of that for about a year. When this building became available, we came in, totally gutted, remodeled it, and just kind of been going ever since, so
Yeah.
It's been really good.
So business is in your blood.
I guess, yes.
Now, what makes your pizza so good? Why is it so popular?
I'm not sure. We try to really use really good quality ingredients. We make our dough from scratch every day. A lot of fresh products, a lot of high quality ingredients, and just kind of have a little bit of a unique taste. I think that a little different from kind of the chains places. So it's just, I think the other thing that really makes us popular is we have that kind of hometown feeling and touch. Even when people come in, you don't feel like you're just a stranger. So we try to continue with that hometown feeling.
Yeah. Well, I'm anxious to get some.
Okay, great.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
Anytime.
Oh my goodness.
So what a fantastic day we've had. 15 miles on old railroad bed right through the heart of Amish country on the Holmes County Trail. We had wonderful weather, beautiful scenery. The brewery was fascinating. Downtown Millersburg is so beautiful. So we saw so many wonderful things today, and then we topped it off with that delicious pizza. And I can't wait to do it again. So I'll see you pedaling down the path.